Hey everyone, welcome to Introduction to HTML. This will be a basic course that will teach you the basics of HTML and how to use it to build out your simple websites to do whatever it is you want to do. If you're opening a business or you just want to build something for your family and friends, this course will give you the basic understanding of HTML and how you would go about building your own simple websites. We're going to use Notepad when we do this course. Reason being, everybody has access to it. It's a very simple program, not much to it. It's not like your other text editors. Like I prefer one called Sublime. There's also Dreamweaver and Eclipse and a bunch of other ones that are out there. But instead of confusing you on how to install those and how to make the colors appear, etc., we're going to use Notepad because everybody has access to it and it's really simple to use. So, before we get started, just want to get you opening up your Notepad so that you can follow along with me. So, in order to open Notepad, of course, I have it on my desktop here. You simply can go down to your Start menu, go to All Programs, Accessories, and Notepad, which is right here. And there you go. It opens up your Notepad. I'm sure you've done this 1,000 times for other things, but just in case you haven't, there you go. So Notepad is open now, and we can actually get started coding. But before we do that, just a little bit of background on HTML, what it is, what it does, etc. You don't need to type this. This is just for your own reference, your own information. So HTML, what it stands for is Hypertext Markup RK Language. Hypertext Markup Language. Now, what does that mean? Right now, probably not very much. But hypertext is the key term here that you're thinking about. You've all been online, you've all been gone on the web, and you've clicked around, you've done certain things, but have you ever really thought about what is going on when you click on something? So take some text, for example. You click on some text, and it takes you to either another part of the page that you're on, or it takes you to another page or another site, etc. Well, that's what hypertext is. It is basically text that is doing something because you've commanded it to do that. You've programmed that text to do something. Hopefully that doesn't sound scary or too complicated, but that's essentially what you're doing when you're writing HTML. You are writing computer commands and you're telling certain areas of the page to do something. So when you're looking at a page, and we'll go through an example in a second, but when you're looking at a page, you are telling the page when someone clicks on this word or this picture or this phrase or whatever, take them to another spot or do something or go somewhere. That's essentially what hypertext markup language does. So HTML, hypertext markup language. Does that mean very much? Probably not. Hopefully it gives you a little understanding of what it's supposed to be. But the idea is just to give you a better knowledge of what it is that you're actually going to be working with. And it's also a good conversational piece. Okay, so I'm going to be using Chrome here because Chrome is quick, painless, and it doesn't cause me headaches like some other browsers do. So let me open up my Chrome browser here. And there we go. I have my Chrome browser open. Okay. So let's just go to Google. Google.com, and let's do a search for something. Let's search for teddy bears. Why? Because everybody loves teddy bears. Okay, so here we have a whole listing of teddy bears. And as you know, I'm sure every one of you have done Google searches in the past, you see on here the blue text that when you put your mouse over it, the little cursor goes from an arrow to a hand. That is hypertext markup language. That's HTML. There's nothing special about this. The data itself, the Vermont teddy bear stuffed animals and accessories, etc., that stuff is all part of a database that's way beyond the kind of things that we're doing here. But if you see the text, it's blue, it's underlined. It's green, it's not underlined. It's standard black text, bolded here. Those are all parts of HTML, and they're very, very simple and easy to understand and very simple to do as well. And that's the kind of stuff that we're going to go through. So as you see, when I go over this, my mouse becomes a little hand. When I come over here, it just becomes a little pointer, not even a pointer, just a little cursor because it's going over a piece of text. The important thing to understand is when you go over the blue text, you'll see that it goes from a pointer to a hand, and that, as you should know, is something that is going to take you to a page somewhere. So if I click on it, lo and behold, it takes me to another page that's loading up. and then you can go and you can buy your teddy bears for whomever. Okay, I don't know why it's taking so long, but that's not my problem anyway. All right, so let's talk about HTML and how it works. So HTML, quite simply, starts off with tags. And the tags are your open bracket and your close bracket. Everything in HTML will have an open bracket and a close bracket. And the thing that you put in between the open and closed bracket becomes the content of the page. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I wanted to create something, and you're more than welcome to do this with me, or you can just watch because we're going to erase it and start over anyway. But if I wanted to type some text in HTML, I could just type, this is HTML text, okay? And what that will do is that will spit out those words. This is HTML text. Nothing fancy about it, nothing special, nothing bolded, nothing underlined, nothing at all. Just plain old, this is HTML text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this, because I want to give you a couple of examples of how this works. I'm going to make sure I have on two screens up at the same time so you can see what's going on in real time here. I'm going to come here and resize this window for you. We still have our teddy bears up. Okay, I'm going to save this under C. We'll call it under tutorials, and we'll make a new folder called HTML. And again, I'll go through all this much slower in a few minutes. I just want to do it quickly so we can see what's going on. And we'll call this basic.html. Okay, so when I go into that file, and I load it here, you can see this is HTML text. Okay, same exact thing there and there. Nothing special about it whatsoever. If I add more, this is more HTML text, and I save that. When I refresh, there it is. This is more HTML text. Nothing difficult. Well, let's say I wanted HTML to be bolded in both cases. Okay, I want it to be like really, really bold words. I can put a tag around the term HTML. And you see the tag that I put is strong. It's the word strong. This is the standard tag now for bolding things. The tag there used to be a tag for B, and I say used to, it still is there. You could put B, and this is bolded. So you could put B around words, and it still works today, but my understanding is that they're trying to phase out the B and replace it with strong. I don't have a good reason why they're doing that. I just know that that is the case. I don't know that B will ever actually go away officially, but the way people want to do it these days is they want to use the strong tag. So who am I to argue? I don't make the rules, I only obey them. So, as you can see, everything between the strong with the open bracket, close bracket, and the slash strong, again with the open bracket, close bracket. What's going to happen is it's going to take this text here and it's going to bold it on the page. I'm going to save this, refresh over here, and now you'll see that this is HTML with HTML being bolded because it's between the open strong and the closed strong. If I were to take that strong text, and again, I'm going through this very quickly because I'll go through it slower in a moment, and I were to move it here, I hope you can see what's going to happen now when I refresh this is this and the word text will now become bold. So as I refresh, you see this is HTML text with text also being bold because it's between the strong and the slash strong. In essence, that is the simplest explanation of how HTML works. And if you're thinking, well, why that isn't difficult, well, it's not difficult, and hopefully you see that and you understand it. So don't be scared by its simplicity. That's the way it is. It's a very simple and easy to learn language that does a lot of good things for you. So during this introduction course, we're going to go over certain things. We're going to go over H tags, specifically the H1 tag. We're going to go over the, actually I'm going to put that in brackets so it looks cleaner. We're going to go over P tags. We're going to go over BR tags. We're going to go over the ever popular A tag. We just went over strong, but we'll go over it again. We'll do EM tags, which are italics. We'll do U tags, which are underline, and then we'll talk about, we'll talk about ULLI and OLLI, which are unordered lists and ordered lists. Basically, if you ever seen anything that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bulleted points or just bullets without the numbers, those are your ULs and OLs. And we'll go over those in a little bit. So let's jump into some HTML and let's see what it starts looking like. So if I were to save this with nothing on it, of course I have nothing on my page. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how to properly structure an HTML page. What I just did worked, okay? If I undo this, I think it's still there. Yeah, this works, obviously. I saw this is an HTML text, and it worked. It was okay. But the problem is it's not properly structured. And it's not proper from both a programmatic standpoint and from a search engine standpoint. When you don't properly structure your pages, it becomes difficult for other programs, including search engines, to read your pages. While it works here, it works in Chrome, and it'll work in most web browsers. Not all web browsers will be able to properly read your page because you haven't structured it properly. So before we get to the content that you want displayed on your page, let's talk about properly structuring your page. Every page in HTML should open up with an HTML tag. Similarly, like all other tags in HTML, with the exception of a few that we'll talk about, it should end with a /HTML tag. Now, one thing you're going to notice, if I save this page and I refresh, one thing you'll notice that there's nothing on the screen here, but over here you see, well, there's content there. It says HTML. Well, why isn't that showing up over here? Well, one of the things you have to understand about HTML is that the browser will not interpret anything that's inside of these bracket tags, inside of the open bracket and the close bracket. So if I come in here and put nonsense, something that doesn't make any sense at all, even though it's not an actual HTML tag, the browser, like I'm refreshing, does not recognize it as something to display because it thinks when it's inside of an open bracket and a closed bracket that I say brackets, greater than, less than, you know what I mean. It looks at it as, oh, this must be some kind of HTML language. Let me ignore displaying this and let me try and do something with it. And if it doesn't understand what's inside the tag, then it just ignores the tag entirely and it moves on to the next thing. So with that said, HTML is your opening tag, /HTML is your closing tag. Everything that's going to appear in between your open and closing tag is what's going to be displayed on the screen, obviously with the exception of other tags. Hopefully that doesn't confuse you, but I think as we go through this example you'll understand. So we have our open HTML and our closed HTML. Now I could simply go in here and say this is a test and hit save, and when I refresh, bam, there it is. This is a test. Now let's say I wanted to put on the next line, this is still a test, and save that. Now when you're looking at the code side over here, and this is code, okay, this might not be, you know, .NET or PHP or some sophisticated code that you may have heard of, but this is nonetheless computer programming at this point. So when you're looking at the code over here, you can you see that it's separated by a line. So you have this line here, and then you have a space line, and then another line. And you would think, well, hey, that's what should show up on the web browser as well. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And let me show you why. When I refresh the page, well, look, it's all in one line. Well, why is that, you might be asking? Well, it's a very simple answer. You haven't told the program to go to another line. Even though you hit the enter key, the program doesn't recognize the enter key because if you notice, you don't see anything actually being entered into the screen. For example, if I hit the Q button, the letter Q comes up. If I hit the 9 button, the number 9 comes up. But when I hit enter, nothing comes up. It just moves to the next line. So you haven't told the computer the code for moving something to the next line. And that is our next tag, or I should say our first tag, which is the BR tag. The BR tag is a break return tag. BR, break return. And what that does is that will tell the computer, after you type out this text, this is a test, then I want you to do a break return. Now I have two enter keys. I had hit the enter key twice here, once for here, once for here. But I only put in one BR tag. So what you should notice is that it's only going to put one line between this is a test and this is still a test. So let's see. I'll save it, refresh it, and here we go. This is a test. Sorry. This is a test, this is still a test, with only one line of break in between, because I only told the computer to break it once. So if I were to make a duplicate of that and have BR and save that, now you'll see I have 2 lines in between. If I did it again, I have 3 lines in between, etc., etc. So I'm telling the computer exactly what I want it to do. I'm saying spit out this text, this is a test. Then put a break, then put another break, then put another break, and then it's going to spit out this text, this is still a test. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So what I'd like you to do is pause this now, go onto your notepad, and type in this text here, exactly as you see it on the screen. Okay, so once you have this on your notepad, you can simply go to File, Save As, go to a page somewhere, go to a directory somewhere in your computer. I'm going to my C tutorials HTML page, and I'm saving the file. I'm calling it basic.html. You can call it whatever you're most comfortable with. It doesn't make a difference. One thing to note, though, is to make sure you change it from save as type text to save as type all files. Otherwise, it'll save it as basic.html.txt, and then your computer won't be able to recognize it as a web page. So you can save that, and you'll have your test available, and then you can go to your folder where that file lives. So over here, you can go to your C, Tutorials, HTML, and then you'll see your file, and you can double click it, and that will bring it up in your browser, just like this. If that didn't make sense, I apologize. You can go back and watch it again. Just rewind this video a little bit and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we have our standard page. We have our break tags. Let's move on a little bit further. So let's say I don't want to use break tags for whatever reason. I'm a conscientious objector. Well, there's another tag in HTML we can use. It's called the P tag. And P, as you may guess, stands for paragraph. Now, paragraphs will automatically have nice spacing between them based on your browser type. So if I want to start a paragraph here and end a paragraph here, it would be open P, and then I would do close P /P. Remember, in HTML, everything opens with one character set and then closes with another. So we do bracket P to open, bracket /P to close, and that tells the computer that everything between here and here is part of the same paragraph. So if I do that and then come down here and put P/P and save that, you'll notice that there's a space in between these. Well, why is that? So let's talk about it. The computer is looking at the P tag. It's saying, okay, this is an opening paragraph. It's saying, here's the text I'm going to display, and then I'm going to close this paragraph. Well, just like any book or any article in the newspaper or anything, whenever you're separating paragraphs, you always have a nice spacing between the two paragraphs to show the separation. Same thing with HTML. It recognizes that you're trying to display a paragraph, so it's interpreting the /P as at the end of one paragraph, and then the P in the next line as the opening of another paragraph. So it's going to put nice spacing in between the two paragraphs. And there are ways to change and manipulate the size of that spacing, but that's another course called CSS, which is Cascading Style Sheets, which we can get to at some other point. So those are your P tags. And you're more than welcome to combine P tags with BR tags. So let's take a look at this, for example. If I were to put a BR tag here and said, hello, Joe, right, and save that, think for a second what you think that's going to do before I show you the answer. Let's walk through it, and then we'll show you what it's actually going to look like. So we're telling the computer, okay, here's the start of a paragraph. This is a test, is what it's going to spit out. Here's the end of a paragraph. Next paragraph begins here. So because you have the end of a paragraph and the start of the next paragraph, you can see between these two lines here, the computer is going to put a nice paragraph separating space. Then we have this is still a test. So that's what's going to spit it out on the next paragraph line. Now, before we end that paragraph, we have this BR tag to deal with. So just like earlier, when the BR tag is a break return and it's going to put the content on the line below it, what should happen is the opening paragraph tag, which again is going to be spaced a little bit below the end paragraph tag, will spit out the text, this is still a test, put a break return, which is the very next line, and then spit out the text, hello Joe. So let's save that and let's see what it looks like. There it is. This is a test, one paragraph. This is still a test in the next paragraph, but before we end that paragraph, we have the break, hello Joe. And there it is. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Pause this pause this video now and see if you can make that work on your own browser. Okay, so moving on now, we talked about the P tag, we talked about the BR tag. Earlier we spent some time on the on the strong tag, but let's get back to that now. Let's talk about the strong tag again. I want the word still to be bolded on the screen because I want it to stand out. This is not just a test, this is still a test. So I can put open strong, close strong, and what that's going to do is tell the computer, spit out this is, and then it's going to recognize the strong tag, and it's going to take anything between the open and closing strong, and it's going to bold it. In this case, the word still. So if I save this and refresh, this is still a test. So it took the word still because it was between the open and closing strong tag, and it made it bold. Should be pretty obvious at this point. Again, if not, feel free to go back in the video a little bit and and try to understand a little more of what I did. So now we have the strong tag, and that's taken care of. Now let's talk about the EM tag. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to create a new paragraph. This is my third paragraph. And you'll notice as I type, I'm constantly deleting letters because I cannot type to save my life sometimes. So this is my third paragraph. I want the word third to be italicized. Now, there are two ways to do this as well. You can use the old I tag, which clearly stands for italicized, or the new standard is to use the EM tag. And what that will do is, let's walk through it. After my hello Joe, I'll have the closing paragraph tag. I'll have another opening paragraph tag, so it's going to put a space between the closing paragraph and the opening paragraph. And then it's going to spit out in normal font, this is my, and then it's going to spit out the word third. Because it's between an opening EM and a closing EM, it'll be italicized. So let's see what that looks like. There we go. This is my third paragraph. Now, let's get a little complicated. Let's say I want it to be bold and italicized. I can simply put strong / strong here. Right? Let's walk through it. Open italicize, open strong. Now, I haven't closed the italices yet, so because I haven't closed them, they're still going to be active when I get to the word third. So the word third is surrounded by both EM and strong tags, and because it's surrounded by both EM and strong tags, the word third will be both italicized and bolded. Let's take a look. There we go, italicized and bolded. And just so you know, it does not make a difference which order I put these in. So I can put the strong tags on the outside and the EM tags on the inside, and I will still get the same result. Refresh a couple times so you can see that. Now, technically, it doesn't make a difference in which order I open and close them, because what will happen is the computer will read, oh, here's an open strong tag. Everything between this point here and the end strong tag will be bolded. So that includes this word third. Okay? Even though I go strong EM and then strong EM out here, even though it's, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, but even though it's not in the same order, opening and closing, it doesn't matter because you've opened the strong tag here and then you've closed it after the word third. So even though I'm not closing them in the same order I've opened them, it will still work for our purposes. Okay? Once again, feel free to pause this video and try this on your own and come back when you're ready. Okay, moving on. Let's create another paragraph. This is to be underlined. Let's use an exclamation point. Okay? Now, I want everything in this paragraph to be underlined. Everything. Okay? I can use the U tag. That's the underline tag, /U. And what that'll do, as just like everything else, everything between the opening U and the closed U will be underlined. There we go. This is to be underlined. If I want just the word underlined to be underlined, there you go. Just underlined is underlined. No pun intended. Should be pretty simple at this point. If you're following along and you understand, basically all the tags work like this. So we have the big tags that we've worked on so far are the P tag, the BR, the strong, the EM, and the U. So now let's talk about the list tags. Those are the UL and the OL tags, coupled with the LI tag, and we'll talk about that now. So the UL tag is called an unordered list. Okay, that is your UL tag. We also have an ordered list. That's the OL tag. Unordered UL, OL ordered list. Okay? So how are these tags used? Well, let's talk about it. UL, and then of course /UL, because everything in HTML, with the exception of a couple things, have opening and closing tags. So what I'm telling the computer is that everything between here and here will be part of this unordered list. Now, lists have items. So just like you make your grocery list to go shopping, right? You have items on your list. Maybe some people separate it into bakery goods versus produce versus meats, and then they have their items, their steak and their chicken and their pork ribs or whatever it's going to be underneath the meats list. Okay, that's not too dissimilar than what this is here. So let's say I wanted to create. Sorry about that. Let's say that I wanted to create a meats list. So I would create a P tag my meats list /P. And then I actually want to create that list. So I have a UL, and then I'll go and create a list item. This is the LI tag, list item. And again, everything needs an opening and a closing tag. So between the LI and the /LI will be the item on this line. So let's say I want steak. Now let's get specific. Let's say I want T-bone steak. And then on the next line, I want ribeye. And then on the next line, I want chicken breast, etc., etc. By the way, these tabs that I put in here, they are absolutely not necessary. This is just formatting that I like to do because what it does is it helps me differentiate between the individual list items and beginning and closing of the UL tags. If I were to move these over, if I were to move these over, it would work just as well, but I'm not sure if you see it, but to me this looks a little confusing because it's not quite separated properly. So coming back, if I were to save this and refresh it, you'll see down here I have the paragraph tag, my meets list, and what happens at the end of that paragraph tag, it's going to add a nice space for the paragraph separation, which is what we have here. And then it's going to start this UL list, the unordered list. And the unordered list appears like this. You have the little bullet point followed by the word or phrase or sentence or whatever it is that you put within those LI tags. So the UL starts here, which is right around here somewhere, but you can't see it because it's a tag and we don't display the tags on the browser itself. And then we have the LI, the list item. So the unordered list and the list item. And all it does is it will take the values of your list item and put them on the list itself. So T-bone steak, ribeye, chicken breast, all part of my unordered list. Now, that's an unordered list. Let's talk about an ordered list. An ordered list is the exact same thing, except instead of bullets, you're going to get numbers because it's ordered by numbers. 1, 2, 3. Look on the page here. Look at the code. There are no numerical values anywhere in this code, yet it's displaying 1, 2, and 3. That is HTML. That is part of the program looking at the code and saying, okay, I have an ordered list here. Then I know that these list items are going to be numbered in order, hence ordered list. It's going to start at number 1, and then go to number 2, and then go to number 3. So the only difference here between OL and UL is it's going to display the exact same thing, but instead of numbers for OL and UL, it will display these, the bullets. Once again, feel free to pause this, take your time, go work on it yourself for a second, and make sure you understand what's going on. Okay, so we've gone over a bunch of good stuff, and we just finished up the ULs and the OLs, the ordered list and the unordered list. Now, taking a look at this page, this is clearly nothing that you would see in a professional website. We know that, I know that, you know that. That's okay. The idea isn't for you to finish this tutorial and then be able to go out and build the next Facebook. The idea is for you to get an understanding of the basics of HTML, because you can't go start creating a professional website without having a basic understanding of what HTML is and how it works. Because even Google, if I were to come back here and go to Google and do my teddy bear search again, okay, every one of these is HTML text. See that? You know what that is? That's a strong tag, okay? That's going to be a strong tag on Google using strong tags to bold their content. And any other thing that you can see here, you can see that, you know, I guess this isn't the best example, but if there were italics or there were paragraph separations, etc., you would see that even Google, as sophisticated, as incredible as it is, still needs to use basic HTML to display its content properly. So we are going to move on now to H1 tags. H1. There are what are called heading tags in HTML. H1 is the first heading tag. There are 1 through, I believe, 7, but I've never really go beyond H3 or H4. Simply because as the tag number gets bigger, the text itself gets smaller, and I'll explain what that means now. So we have H1, and then I'll do an H2, and slash H2, and I will do an H3 and a slash H3. Big text, medium text, small text. Now, heading is exactly what you think it would be. It is a heading on a page. Just like in a newspaper, when you're looking at the heading or the title of the article or whatever you want to call it, you have the heading in nice big letters, usually bolded, really easy to read, and then the text below it, of course. So just like in the newspaper, the size of the tag being H1, H2, or H3, it'll go from really, really big to a little smaller to a little smaller, all the way down to very, very tiny. Now, the other thing about heading tags that you need to know is they also act like paragraph tags, meaning that at the end of this H1 tag, it is going to put a separation between it and the next item in the list, or the next item in the code, I should say. So H1 tag is going to display this word, or these words, in very, very large text, probably bolded depending on your browser, and then it will also add a nice break at the end of it so that it will have a separation between it and the next element. So let's save this and let's see what it looks like. Big text, medium text, small text. Notice the spacing in between the lines here, okay? We didn't tell it to put any spacing specifically, but because we use the H1 tag, the H1 tag automatically adds spacing between it and the next element. So H1 being very, very large, here's the big text here. H2 being medium is a little smaller. Here's the big, it's a little bigger than this text, you can see. So big text, medium text, small text. And as you go down the line to, let's say, H7, you can see H7 looks like that. It's even smaller, it's not bolded, it's a much different size text. So depending on your browser, the size of this text could vary some. Those are your H tags. And what are they used for? Well, let's see. Let's say we're writing a news article. Phillies win the World Series. Not this year, but hopefully one day soon. Phillies win the World Series, and I can put my paragraph tag in here. In an incredible, that's how you spell incredible, an incredible display of athleticism, yada, 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 right? /P. Save that, refresh. There we go. Looks like we have a nice little headline going here. Phillies win the World Series. An incredible display of I cannot spell today, I guess. But an incredible display of athleticism, etc., etc. You can have your whole paragraph there. And then you can have a second paragraph below that. It was amazing, right? And we can put some strong tags around that. Should be an R there. All right, it was amazing, etc., etc. There's all kinds of stuff we can do here. We can, quote out the word athleticism because this year they haven't been too athletic. I'm not going to bother trying to spell it right. We have quotes around there, but I want the word athleticism to be bold. I'm sorry, italicized. There we go. It's italicized. Okay. Now at the bottom here, I'm going to put team lineup. Oops. Don't ask. And I'm going to put an ordered list so I have individual numbers. LI/LI. And we'll start off with, let's see, Chase Utley, who hasn't played very much this year. And we'll do, the next line we'll do Ryan Howard, who also hasn't played much this year. And then we'll do Dominic Brown, who amazingly has hit quite a few home runs this year. And we'll stop at that. And we'll come back and we'll refresh and we'll see. Here we go. So as you can see, we're building an article. The article started off with a heading tag. Then it comes with our paragraph explaining what's going on, and then we put some strong tags in there and some EM tags, and now we have ordered lists going on, etc., etc. You can see how this starts to come together to actually build something that people can read and can use, etc. And you really haven't done very much. There's not a lot to what we've done today. It's just a matter of sitting down and actually planning out what you want this thing to look like, and then going and doing it with HTML. Now, we haven't talked about colors or anything like that. Of course, there's ways to change the colors of the font, change the colors of the text, etc. Add borders to it, add pictures, those kinds of things. But this is an introduction course, and when you feel comfortable with this and you have this down solid, then you can move on to the next one, which will teach you more things like using font tags and changing colors and adding pictures, those kinds of things. So if you're comfortable with this, we're going to move on to the very last thing, which are our A tags. If not, feel free to pause it, look at my text, put it into your text, your notepad, and get the similar screen. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the final thing in HTML for the introduction, which is your A tags. So A tag is very simply an opening A. Okay, and then there's a /A. But it's not quite that easy. And here's why. Everything we've done so far, P tags, let's see, EM tags, etc. All we've told it is everything between the opening and the closing will be part of a paragraph. Everything that is between the opening and the closing will be italicized, etc. A tags work a little differently, and this is why I saved it to last. In addition to telling it, this is my link. In addition to telling it that everything between the opening A and the closing A will be linked, which is what anchor text is what's called an anchor. A creates your links. In addition to telling it that everything between the opening A and the closing A will be a link, we also need to tell it where we're going to link to. So we are using A, which is anchor, meaning that we are going to anchor this text to do something. We are going to give A what's called an attribute. So the tag itself is A. By putting a space in here, we are now going to start creating attributes for this A tag. And the first and only attribute we're going to use here is called the href attribute, which stands for hypertext hyperlink reference. Okay? And we're going to tell it that the hyperlink reference is equal to http://www.google.com. You should be very familiar with this because I'm sure you type this in all the time in your browser. http://www.cnn.com or whatever any site it is that you go to. So let's walk through this one more time. The opening A tag tells it that we are starting a link. Okay, anchor text. We are starting a link. The href is an attribute of the A tag. It means where is this A tag going to link to? So what this says is this text, this is my link, is going to link to whatever is inside of this href tag. So we are saying the anchor text, the hyperlink reference for it will be http://www.google.com. And what that will do is on your screen, it will take the text, this is my link, and it will turn it into something clickable. And when someone clicks on it, they will go to this web page here. So let's see what it looks like. This is my link. So when I click on it, I'm taken to google.com. So let's look at the link itself in the browser. It's purplish. Before it was blue, I think. It has an underline to it. Why is that? Well, we didn't put an underline tag in here anywhere, so why is it underlined? Why is it blue? Why is it doing all that? Well, your browser has a default behavior. When it sees an A tag, it automatically puts an underline underneath it because as humans, we've been trained to look at a web page, and when we see something underlined, we assume it's going to link off to somewhere. So instead of you having to go in and put, for example, a U tag here and writing extra code that's unnecessary, the browser itself is already interpreting that A tag, and it is using it to automatically place the underlined feature on the content itself. Additionally, it's changing the text to blue because it's also something that would stand out. So in other words, if I were to come here and add a bunch of gibberish, this is a link, this is also something that you can click on, and then we have our A tag there, and then we have after that so have a nice day. This makes absolutely no sense, but I don't care. So we have all that, and we have it inside of a P tag, which you always should do. You don't have to, but you should. And when I refresh it, you can see, well, it clearly stands out with the underline and with the different color. Oh, that's where the hyperlink is. That's why the A tag automatically adds color to it. It automatically adds an underline to it. So when you're looking at this, it's very, very simple and easy to see. Okay, there's the link I'm looking for. Why is that important? Well, that's what the internet is. The internet is nothing but one site linking to either another page or another site to give you information. Yes, there's games and all kinds of videos and things like that as well, but the original purposes of the internet, as you must understand, was to share information amongst the world. And that's what this does. This hypertext markup language allows you to create text that will link to other text and other pieces of content all over the world. So that is the explanation for an A tag and what it's for. There are many other attributes that could possibly go inside of an A tag, but that's for later courses. The important thing to know is that your opening A tag everything surrounded by your opening and closing A tag will become the link, and the href will tell that link when someone clicks on it, this is where they're going to go. Hopefully that makes sense. Thank you for your time, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and be on the lookout for the next one, which will be a little more, actually much more advanced HTML properties and some more cool, fun things to do, and actually getting into building a website.